Today is the day we start Snow White. The movie came out like, I think the 25th it came out. It's the 31st, so it was out 6 days ago, I guess now. Haven't seen the movie, don't know how it's been. But I want to make Snow White's dress because who doesn't want to be Snow White? It's now later, and this is my first mock-up that we've got. Now, if I put it on, I did accidentally make it a bit big. I just kind of drew it on paper and then cut it out and went with the vibes. Now, it's not gonna fit right also because I've got all my seam allowance there. Looks a bit like this. This is where I want the seam to be here. It is at the moment 5 centimeters away. So I have to take it in. Adjustments have been completed. This is what we've got. Ooh. The sleeves don't fit. That was a rapid fire intro, but we're gonna start the underskirt first. That way if I make any mistakes on it, it's fine because it's just out of an old bed sheet. But what we have to do is first mark our waist measurement, which is divided by 4 because we're working in quarters. And then from that waist measurement, you want to measure down how long you want your skirt to be and mark it at that point. And it will be in a circle formation. I don't know what that shape is called. The sound of my scissors cutting the fabric was just so satisfying that we had to just listen to it for a bit. This is half of a circle skirt. Half. The fabric that I got was actually, it's an old sheet, and I now need to find another one the same color because I need the back half now. I got the skirt, it's hanging there. Here we have all my materials. This is going to be the skirt. I did have to get it into fragments, which I need 5 meters. One of them is 2 and the other one is 3. So I might have like a random seam somewhere on the skirt. I have to have a seam in the middle of my skirt. It shouldn't be like in the middle, it's just gonna be like half a meter from one of the sides. So if I chalk it at the back, it should be fine. I did overlock all my fabric as well before I washed it, just to stop it from like fraying dramatically in the washing machine, which it doesn't usually. Well, that's how far off my seam is to the middle. That's the middle there. Slice. They're still attached. Same thing we did for this one, we're doing with these. Okay, so we are doing the exact same thing that we just did for the underskirt. Is it a petticoat? I don't really know. Maybe I should know these things. I probably should. But we're doing the same thing, and then we're just gonna cut it out after you measure it. This one wasn't as long as I wanted it to be because the fabric wasn't wide enough, but there's nothing I could do about that. So we just rolled with it. Then you want to trace the exact same thing onto another half of fabric. Make sure it's folded over as well. You can see like my fold. Yeah, good job. Just lay down, have a nap. Oh my god, and I fell over there. That's what's going on if you're curious. I fell over and just stayed there. Then you want to sew these 2 pieces together at the side seams, which is the opposite side to the folded side. That doesn't really make any sense, but just do it. And then make a waistband, because you might need one of them. Yeah, you probably do. Just pin your waistband to the small semicircle that you cut out, and make sure you sew up every side except for one because you need to add a zip. Otherwise you're not going to be able to put it on because your waist is like the smallest part and it won't really work. I don't think it would. You could give it a go, but I don't think it would work. Leave a gap, and also make sure you stitch in the ditch when you're sewing it onto the front. You do it like a bias binding when you're sewing a waistband. This is now my 5th mock-up, I believe, of the top. I also made it longer because my last one was way too short. You know what, that feels better, and it is shoving up my armpit. Hey, wait, hey, I think this fits a lot better. So it comes down into the point. Okay. Yippee! Sleeves are fixed. The 5th one. I think this is going to be the one. I'm really hoping it is, at least. I drew a line so I can see where it ends. Slay! It's looking Snow White. Yippity-doo-dah. We now have to unpick every seam to get some pattern pieces. I then just pinned these little guys on to some like parchment paper, I believe it is. I don't even know what this paper is. It's not pattern paper, it's just random paper I got on like a massive roll, which is really convenient. Just use your French curve to do all your little curves. I think that's what it is, French curve. I don't actually know. I lost my little one, so now I just use the massive one. I don't know if they're the same thing. You just use it and a ruler, make all your lines straight, and then you got a little pattern, and then go and trace it onto your bed sheets, because that's what I'm using as a lining. More bed sheets, more old bed sheets. I mean, it's convenient. We just had them lying around. They should be used for something instead of just sitting in a box. But ta-da! And my hair is actually really red in this video. As we're cutting out our actual things, it's really red. Oh, I've just punched the mic, I'm sorry. My hair is really red, and by the end of the video, my hair is orange, and that's how long it took me to make this. I just procrastinated really, really good. Not going to put you through trying to sew together this super stiff satin. So here's one seam, and now we get to cut down the seam allowance, which is easy because it is so stiff. It's practically card paper. Again, don't put this super stiff interfacing on. You will have to rip it off later. It has been created. It's stiff. It's so stiff. Yeah, I'm hoping if I just like crinkle it up and maybe chuck it in the wash. Woo! Now everyone grab your One Direction ruler to measure where you have to sew your boning channels, and always remember to measure 5 times so you don't have to undo it. Don't worry guys, I measured wrong. Not my fault though. I had to get new zip ties for my boning because the ones I had weren't long enough and the new ones were wider. When I fix this later, I just forced the zip ties into the channels. It wasn't fun. But anyway, here is a One Direction ruler close-up. Did more boning channels, but that's boring, so here's me ripping off the interfacing. Unfortunately, I couldn't rip it off where the stitching was, so I just had to cut it off as close as I could. And yes, you may be thinking you can just unpick it, then re-sew it. Do I look like I want to do that? This is already too much. I'm not putting in any more effort. I did that for the rest. I think you guys get it now, so ka-chow. It's done. Yes, it looks ugly, but that's the inside, so no one will ever know. Alright, so the next thing we're doing is the sleeves. I have my mock-up material here. Let's start. Everyone comment how cool that transition was. It doesn't get much better than that. Now to make the sleeves, honestly, the pattern doesn't have to be exact because you can just gather it until it fits in the armhole. But this is the basic shape of the sleeves. I do make the bump at the top a little bit smaller later, but that's essentially it. This is my sleeve. It's gonna be like more there. Now just slice that bad boy out. Make sure you're doing it on the fold with half of the pattern so it's even on both sides. I have 2 arms, so I'm going to be needing a second sleeve. Boom! 2 sleeves. Snow White has those weird little red shapes on her sleeves, so we now get to make them. I used my sleeve pattern as a size guide so they fit on my sleeves. We need 6 of them, so I just cut out some more. I made sure I got my placement even without measuring. The One Direction ruler has been fired. We are now guessing. Bye bye numbers, hello uneven sleeves. It's fine though because I'm actually so talented that they're even, or so I believe. To sew these guys on, we just need to do a little zigzag stitch around the outside. So this is going to stop the red things from fraying and also attach them to the sleeve. Oh my god! That's actually so cute. Time to turn these massive shapes into sleeves. So to do that, we need to add a basting stitch to the top of the sleeve. That's the part with the massive bump on it. Now for the elastic, featuring my messy room and my unfinished 2025 vision board. Anyway, the bottom of this sleeve needs to be gathered, but it also needs to stretch, therefore elastic. Just chop it to the circumference of your arm and sew it to the bottom of your sleeve. Remember to stretch it as you sew. Now just sew the 2 sides together and roll the elastic over so it's hidden within the fabric. Time to switch it up. we're back to the skirts and we are fixing the uneven bottom. You have to let circle skirts hang for a bit so the bias of the fabric can stretch. This is what makes the bottom become uneven. I'm cutting all of this in half this way, and then I'll have 6 meters, and then I'm gonna sew it around the bottom. Today is the day that we finish Snow White. Last place we left off. Also, yes, Taylor Swift. I was sewing the lace onto my underskirt and I ran out, so I got more. Knew he was a killer first time that I saw him. It's now time to chop more of the lace in half. It's not the funnest thing to watch, so instead here's a tour of my Minecraft world. And back to sewing. We're finally getting close to the end, thankfully. We just need to sew the arms together, sew in the super puffy sleeves, attach the outer layer and the lining together, slice up our seam allowance. This makes it lay flat once it's flipped right side out, then flip it and sew up the armholes by hand. This is what it's looking like. I've hand stitched. Slight issue with the boning. I'm struggling to get the longer ones into the channels. Like, as you can see here, this one I can't get all the way up. We now get to put some eyelets in. Woo! And of course, we can't do this without watching some YouTube. If you can guess what video I'm watching, you get a prize. That prize is me being concerned on how you guessed it. You can't even see half of the screen. Anyway, back to eyelets. I had to change locations because the hammer was just wobbling the table, not attaching my eyelets. Some of my eyelets went a little funky. I have no idea how. And I also can't fix it because I have no eyelets left. Both sides of the top got a row of 5 eyelets, and then for the boning I measured my zip ties to the length of my channels, cut them, rounded the corners, and melted them. I did this for all 8. Now, time to struggle. I spent far too long trying to put these zip ties into their channels. It was not fun. This is what we're up to. So a couple of days ago I finished the top. It is lace up on the back. That's what we got the boning for. It's color time. It was quite fun making the collar because it was quick and easy. I kept making adjustments until it looked perfect. I then cut it out of the white satin, and it does need a front and back, so I cut another collar out of the satin. Now just pin them together, good sides facing each other, and sew around the edge, leaving a gap so you can flip it good sides out after. Because we want the collar to be stiff, before we flip it, we want to iron on some interfacing. Fun fact, I made the collar too tall, so I did need to make some adjustments, but it was now done.